Alrighty, this is my first time doing this on my laptop, so I hope this works. But this is my evaluation of my correspondence I did with the legislator and my whole advocacy project. So, when I was reading the Hover text, I saw that a part of the whole evaluating your advocacy is asking the kind of questions like what actions are associated with what outcomes, what are you trying to achieve, and what extent did you achieve that? And if I were to be perfectly honest, just going straight in, I don't feel like I achieved much of anything besides gaining more knowledge and insight into the problem. I don't feel like I've actually helped the problem yet. But I do feel like after learning how to do all this, I could actually send out my little correspondence I wrote to my legislator, and I could try to get attention to it. Let me try to pull it up here. So, I actually wrote to a Georgia state representative, and a tool that I used a lot during my project was my advocacy map, which I honestly at first thought I was like, well, this is just a silly assignment. It's not going to help that much. Much like a lot of stuff that we do, we kind of second guess at first, and then we realize it's actually super important. So I actually did use my advocacy map, and I have it pulled up right here. I put a lot of effort into my map because I actually went online and I found who my local representatives were and who could actually help give insight into budgeting issues. And that's how I found Kristen Kiefer, who is supposed to be on the National Council of Aging and helps with budgeting issues. Or she's not supposed to, she is. That's what she does. She kind of helps with budgeting in that whole atmosphere. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get someone on the Council on Aging, and I need to get someone who's actually in Congress if I want to actually make a difference and help the aging population. And just to give a little background, I am a scatterbrain, so I know this is all over the place, and I'm so sorry I did write out and plan what I was going to say. But things don't usually go according to plan. But anywho, I was working at a local area agency on aging, and I actually learned a lot. I only worked there for a month before I had to quit because of health issues. And I was very, very disappointed with the demand that there was for help and the amount of help that they could actually give. It was heart wrenching because I was receiving these phone calls from these elderly people who have worked their whole lives, yet they couldn't afford to eat. Yet they can't keep their power on. And it just made no sense to me because hopefully we are all going to be there. We're all going to age. We're all going to get older. It's a privilege to age. So why shouldn't we try to treat our aging population better? So I started racking my brain and I was like, well, what can I do? What could possibly help this? And all I could think of was trying to increase the budget. And when I worked at the area agency on aging, I learned about the Older Americans Act, which is what kind of inspired my whole project. There's actually a whole act put together for helping the elderly population age in place and age healthy and happy, you know, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They deserve all those things. So I did create this advocacy map thinking of those issues, and that's where it all kind of came from, was my job there. And I did use it a lot. My outcomes, I would like to think I did achieve a lot of those, because as the social worker, I did find that local representative. I did try to advocate for a current bill, and I did gain a lot of more knowledge on the issue, a lot of things I hadn't considered, and I did look into my local policy, and I did realize that, they have extended the budget, but it's just not enough. There's always going to be more need than can be helped, and that's just heartbreaking to me. I just don't understand it. We're supposed to be like the best place to live, yet we have so many people struggling. So, my ultimate outcome, of course, was to get more funding for elderly care programs to allow more seniors to get the financial help and assistance that they need. So, in thinking about that, I also wanted to use my message box when I was writing my correspondence with the legislator. I really thought about what the other side would have to say. And I really looked into how, people are always saying the government can't do this, it can't do that, we're already doing so much. So I made sure to kind of address those in a way that would make sense for both sides, even though I know that Miss Shelley Hutchinson, the Georgia representative I picked, is a liberal. She's part of the Liberal Party, and it made sense that she might want to help this cause. So I made sure to write her a nice, informed correspondence, and I would like to think I made a pretty good point here. I found some really good articles, and the one thing that stood out to me that I had already really known but never had the actual research to back it up was that there was a huge failure on America's part, American policy, to account for inflation over the years. I mean, it's really hard out here right now. And I know it's not just the elderly that are struggling, it's everyone. But I thought that this could really help them if we addressed inflation, and if we made a budget, that would reflect inflation, and how if we increased spending in this area, even if we just helped a few more people, that would make a world of difference to those people. Our aging population shouldn't be malnourished. They shouldn't be suffering. They've lived their whole lives in this world, as complicated and beautiful and hard as it is. Why make it harder to live? It costs to live, it costs to die. Let's make it a little bit easier for them, because that's going to be us. And as I was writing this, Hutchinson, I was like, we're not just helping them, we're helping everyone, because we are all a part of this community, or we will be one day. And it's an issue that everyone should be concerned about, because, I mean, even looking at the textbook, there was a chapter in the Lane text that had talked about how older Americans are struggling. There's not a lot for them. There are policies out there, but there's so many people that need help, and they're just not reaching them. And it's hard. And I just think that, if we address this and we advocate for the budget each year to kind of go up a little bit more, or put a clause in the policy that states that we should make sure that we're accounting for inflation in the budget each year, that would really be helpful. I was kind of proud of my little letter. I thought that I was really, doing a good job in making sure that I got my point across to her. I think I might actually send it to her to try to see if I could get some voices heard at least. I do wish I had included a personal testimonial in there. I think that would have been really helpful. but I honestly just I didn't have the time, and the person I thought about reaching was deceased by the time my project came around. But thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.